Welcome back to Impact Analysis. Each week, we break down a real-time event leaders need to understand, not just what's happening, but what to do about it. My name is Jerome Ryan. I am joined by my co-host, Mike Janko. Mike, what's our topic today?
I'm really glad to join you today, Jerome. We're going to address something that's rapidly reshaping every sector, AI, artificial intelligence, but not from innovation, more as AI being a top operational risk.
Yeah, and when I look at AI, the adoption and the acceleration is faster than anything I've seen before. Having been around the block a few times now, we've seen the adoption of computers over my early life, the adoption of the internet over my early career. And those things happen pretty quickly, but not at the same speed as artificial intelligence. It's moving across cloud, mobile development. These agents are now being built to replace some junior level jobs. So we have a lot of development that is exciting, but at the same time, we need to pause to understand the systemic risks that leaders should be aware of as they start to implement components of AI in their companies. So with that, let's jump in.
Well, Jerome, if we look back a year or two, AI might have seemed like a novel idea or experiment to a lot of people. But according to 2025 global surveys, over 75% of large organizations are using AI in at least one core business function. About 50% of these organizations have embedded generative AI into daily workflows. What this means is they're browsing new content based on large existing data sets. And over 80% of Fortune 500 companies are now piloting or deploying large language models. This means advanced AI understanding and generating human-like language. So the AI market is projected to exceed $1.3 trillion by 2030, and it's growing at a compound annual rate above 35%, and that's quite exponential.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And unlike previous digital transformations, AI is not a system upgrade. It's actually a decision augmentation and insights tool. And we're starting to see this AI get embedded in some interesting areas, such as supply chain forecasting, credit risk modeling, fraud detection, cybersecurity monitoring, customer service automation, HR screening and workforce analysis, predictive maintenance systems, and even healthcare diagnostics. Interestingly, the state of Utah, they are allowing AI to review prescription refills. And they found that with over 99% accuracy, the AI is making the same recommendation to refill or not refill a prescription as a doctor would. So we're seeing AI being embedded in some really unique areas these days.
Well, Jerome, you brought up some of the positive operational impacts. Let's talk about a few of the operational failures next. So generative AI systems are producing fabricated financial summaries. In addition, AI-powered chatbots are issuing incorrect policy guidance to customers. We also have automated trading algorithms that are creating market volatility. AI hiring systems are triggering discrimination investigations as well. And deepfake-enabled fraud from AI has resulted in causing millions in financial losses already. In 2024 alone, there was reported deepfake-enabled financial scams that exceeded $200 million globally, and that number is rising.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. In several cases, we've actually seen AI used improperly without the human validation of its accuracy. I'm thinking in particular of one news article that talked about a lawyer filed a legal case in court and used AI for that. And the AI started citing case law that didn't exist. So when AI makes errors, it can really be a big error.
100% correct, Jerome. So think about how AI works on probabilities. That means they generate outputs based on patterns that they see, not verified facts, just patterns. They can hallucinate with a lot of confidence, and they can degrade or break down when exposed to new or different data. Many organizations are integrating third-party AI information without even checking the visibility into data accuracy, any AI bias, security vulnerabilities, and intellectual property issues. So this creates big gaps in the accuracy of what they're reporting.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just the gaps. AI is a tool that makes a lot of things easier for us as lay individuals. People who without coding skills can now begin to code, and that's wonderful when it's applied properly. However, that can also be applied to malicious intentions. You can have AI used to create adversarial techniques and outcomes, such as manipulating model inputs and outputs, extracting sensitive data, personally identifiable information, things that could run against a lot of these European and other global regulations around data privacy and the individual's ability to maintain control over their personal data. So you have a whole cybersecurity element that is layered into this. One interesting case that I'll share with you, it's not necessarily a cyber security malicious hack, but there was an individual that used Claude Code to take his robot vacuum cleaner and configure it in a way that he could use his PlayStation controller to guide the vacuum around his house just for, personal use to clean the house. However, he inadvertently stumbled upon a coding error or an open door, a loophole, and he gained access to all 7,000 robot vacuums globally and was able to control them, not by choice, but he was able to identify that it was resolved and it was done in a positive manner that we could learn from it. But it brings that scary question that with the amount of internet devices that we have today, what further could be taken hostage and controlled by a real malicious actor?
Well, in addition to the vacuums, Jerome, there's a couple other items: customer support systems, developer deliveries, content production, and automated compliance reviews. So imagine dependency multiplied across finance, healthcare, transportation, and logistics. This can cause a trickle-down effect on every one of us.
Yeah, and I think one of the big conversations that we're having in the US and in other parts of the world right now is around hyperscalers and their use of things like energy and water resources to build these data centers. It's becoming a more kitchen table topic of conversation because it can directly impact electricity usage. So it's just a different angle that we need to start to consider. But we also need to think about it's not all doom and gloom. Right. We have AI. It's got some amazing potential in front of us in solving these big global issues, cancer research, environmental and sustainability, big questions that are out there, the ability to potentially solve poverty or more near-term things like food scarcity. So we have a lot of wonderful things that could be solved with AI. So, with that, Mike, why don't we transition to some of the takeaways?
Since over 75% of large companies are already using AI in their core operations, here are a few of the things that should already be underway. Have a formal AI governance structure and make sure this reports to the board level. Make sure you know how AI is being deployed throughout your whole organization. Stress test your systems and workflows with failure scenarios. This falls back to the tabletop exercise recommendation again, to actually test and validate what you have.
Yeah, and Mike, my point here is one we've heard before: garbage in, garbage out. So when I look at AI and the risks that are involved, it's around the training model and the guardrails that are around that, the prevention of hallucinations and drifting. So you can actually rely on the outputs and the insights that are being created. So when you look at it from that perspective, AI is not an IT only issue. It really sits, portions of it at least, in enterprise strategy, in enterprise risk governance, to making sure that we're building a productivity tool that actually generates the value in the output that we're hoping for.
You're right, Jerome. And since our entire organization is using AI, it can have a big impact on everybody from your plant floor all the way through to your leadership. So since AI can be top operational benefit or a top operational risk, you can manage the risk now or the consequences later. Thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you.